Hey, everybody out there in Hangout Land and YouTube Land and Google Plus Land. Hi, it's Elaine Nieberding, and today is episode 11 of the Holy Shift Show. Yes, I said the Holy Shift Show. We live in these dynamic times, and here in this wonderful medium of Hangouts on Air, we get together to help each other get our shift together, get through the shift together. And mostly remember F words, like having fun while we tap into our core feelings and fuel each other forward into fulfillment. Actually, the words I've just used, feelings, fueling, success, and fulfillment, were the topic of episode 10 last week. And we're going to continue that conversation this week as entrepreneurs, as people involved in wanting to extend our goodness into the world, our service, our gifts. How can we do that? Being ourselves freely, uniquely, and how can we find a brand, a resonance, a feeling that we impart out to the world, especially visually, so that people who are meant to connect with us, to receive our gifts, can remember us, recognize us, and even do business with us. I'm here to welcome a couple different, I'll call them communication passionistas here with me today. And, I put on these funny glasses because I'd like the black glasses to represent, like our ego frame of reference. But as we wake up in our service to the world, what we want to give ourselves permission to do is see very clearly now through the lenses of our heart and our soul. And so I'm going to introduce each person, and you got your glasses on, but then remove them so we can see you clearly. I'm going to go on over to Thomas Hanna. Hey, Thomas Hanna, where are you hanging out from?
I'm hanging out from my office.
And what state would that be in?
I know, I was kidding. I am coming to you from Florida, from Central Florida, where I like to be awesome and enjoy other F people like friends, fellowship.
Like friends. Okay, so would you enter and sign in, please, or rather, I really mean, like, take off those glasses. Do you have your so we can see your full frontal, Thomas?
So you can see me clearly. Now, if I take off my glasses, do I get to see you clearly anymore?
Yeah. Oh, I think I'll hop back and I will. Let's see. I'll take mine off. Let's see. Remove all effects. There we go. Where they go? There we go.
There you are. Oh, Elaine!
Can you see me now?
I didn't recognize you.
Can you see me now?
I can see you. It's good. It's good to see you, Elaine.
Oh, it's good to see you, Thomas. Okay, I'm gonna hop on over to Katrina Fancook, and that does not start with an F, by the way. That starts with PF. Hi, Katrina. Where are you hanging out from?
Hello! I see that under my glasses there's more glasses, but yes, I'm hanging out from Fort Collins, Colorado, and I feel bad for all the people on the East Coast today, but it is 70 degrees in January in Fort Collins, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Pretty happy about that. So thank you for being here. You're our creative Katrina communications passionista, and I'm going to hop on over back to Thomas. Thomas has this great place called Blog Photo TV, and we'll be hearing more about that as we go. And now I'm going to jump over to the woman, Andrea. Oh, let me just call her Dre.
That's the name!
Dre, who is the reason this whole hangout actually emerged. Andrea, would you like to do the full reveal? Take off those glasses.
Here it is.
Ooh, that was magic, lady.
It's like Vanna White, baby.
So, it was November. You wrote one of your beautiful blogs. It was about the 5 color palettes to use that are really helpful in branding and effective connection. And lo and behold, you selected me as one of the people that you spotlighted. Yeah, you liked my Hangout banners, and I thought, holy shift! She included me with some great company, and so then we got a little bit acquainted, and since that time I've gotten familiar with your work, and you've introduced me to Thomas, and over the last week or two I've had my own process of getting comfortable with the word badass.
It's a very scary word for some of us.
It's a very scary word.
I can imagine that process.
But now I come to appreciate the fullness of your divine, delicious assets that are all about branding. So where are you hanging out from?
I am right there with Katrina. I am in a 75-degree Silicon Valley, Northern California, and enjoying an office where the sunlight is pouring in and waiting for me to go out and play in it.
Okay, so here we are. We're a a fun, foolish, frivolous, and we hope you will find us a fulfilling foursome. Because for all of you who happen to be watching today on Google+, on YouTube, via replay, we hope you come away with some real good feelings as well as actionable tips that relate to bringing forth your visual vibe into your work, into your presence in social media, on your website, being on Hangouts, and just showing up in a PR kind of way. And so I'd like to start out by just mentioning this year for me has been starting out, like many people do, thinking, where am I going with my business and my service? And last week I decided I was going to revisit Danielle Laporte's Desire Map process, and Katrina was with us on the discussion for that. And it's all about feelings. And when we're doing self-inquiry to get in touch with our core feelings that fuel us, into work and service in our life, it really takes paying attention, and not solely intention from thinking about it and figuring it out from a left brain kind of way. And just a couple days ago, I started revisiting a book by Penny Pierce, who wrote The Intuitive Way, and a couple of years ago this book called Frequency, and it's all about how each one of us, when we're connecting with our source, our core, our soul, our highest place of wisdom, when we tap into that, it really has a feeling. There's like a home frequency there, which is constantly trying to get our attention. And Penny Pierce says, we're really no longer in the age of information. She says we're really living in a world now where, let's call it the age of intuition, where we're using different kinds of sensitivities and sensibilities to communicate and also connect with each other. And so in this time, it's interesting. We actually know that on the planet Earth's vibration is actually increasing. It's called the Schumann resonance. And many people feel that because of this planetary increase in vibration, the way we experience ourselves, our connections with each other, and our sensitivities and sensibilities, it's changing. I would love to get started with Dre talking about when it comes to feeling into and building a brand, what are some of the steps? What are the logical steps, or what are the steps that are involved in doing that?
Well, creating any brand is really going to be an evolution, but the path that really needs to be followed first starts within, especially when we're talking about solopreneurs and solo entrepreneurs and really human-driven brands. It's got to come from inside that human. It's got to come from a discovery process in knowing what you're about as far as ethics, morals, messages. You've got to instill your voice. You've got to instill your personality. The evolution of marketing has really gone to the human factor. And so branding has to begin with defining those factors. And then it goes on to finding the inspiration for all of it, the second phase, and figuring out how to create the visual and the voice for the factors. And then it goes on to, the creation stage, the actually making it happen and putting the package together. A lot of people think that branding is only the visual side, and I am the visual strategist. But branding is much deeper than all the visuals. And so it's got to start inside, and then it's really just a process of bringing all of that out, all of it out of every facet of your hands on a keyboard and writing, and out of your mouth for your voice, and out of your ears for listening. I mean, it's really got to come from every place, but it starts with a look inside, not any design or visual things. The visuals got to come and be directed from those elements.
From those elements. So I really love the words that you use, finding a vision for your voice. And the word voice, then, that also brings me back to this idea of resonance and vibration. Because when we think of sound waves and the way we're talking, we think of sound waves. We do think of that. And then when we're feeling into that and putting that into word form, like for blogs, hopefully we give ourselves permission to let that essence of self be translated into words, and then, as you said, also into the visuals. I would love to jump on over to Katrina. Katrina, you're a creativity consultant, and so when you're helping people tap into that source of them, the source of their creativity, what kind of process do you do in connecting with the person that you're giving the assistance to?
Well, part of the work that I do is intuitive and empathic. So I am sort of feeling into the words that they're saying and what they think they want versus where their passion is. Andrea was talking about how, it's really that message and that vision has to come from inside of you. And I think a lot of people sometimes get caught up in, well, people in my industry or other folks are doing it this way, that means I should be doing some variation of that, when it really actually doesn't resonate with what's going on for them personally. So when I'm working with someone one-on-one, I actually take them through sort of a little self-discovery process. I'm asking them more specific questions about where their passion is, and sometimes they're really stuck between what they know they can do well, what their skill set is, versus where their passion is. And I really like to blend those two together because that's got longevity. When you're creating a brand, you want something that you're passionate about, but also has a lifespan of more than like 2 years. Doesn't mean it can't change over time and get a refresh visually or with writing, because I can help guide and coach people on that too. But it's got to be something that you really love and can connect with and has a life that you see extending for that vision that you've got in your heart.
Yeah, I want to jump now over to Thomas, because there must be an element of this when you are helping coach someone or help them feel into the essence of themselves that they want to put forth in their work and in their visuals. How do we need to feel into and hear another person? Is there something about empathy and understand where someone's coming from? That's a part of that process.
Well, I think particularly the main sphere in which I work, it deals a lot with social media, with blogging, with making connections with people online, which creates some unique challenges because when you're one-on-one, you have a lot of additional cues. You have a lot of additional ways you just sort of intuitively make connections with people that you don't always have over the digital sphere. But there are some things that convey consistently, the most important of which is this idea of genuinely, authentically caring about the benefit of other people. And part of the reason that genuineness is so essential is because most of us, particularly if we study anything regarding business, recognize that allowing other people to feel special is critical in all areas, in building your brand, in developing sales and marketing, in all of these things. But the problem is that often will translate into people trying to create the perception of compassion instead of becoming genuinely compassionate. And when you begin to genuinely connect with people, you start doing things differently. Things begin to become a little bit less about self-promotion. They become a little bit more about how can I actually help you, even if that doesn't translate directly into sales, even if that doesn't translate directly into promotion or visibility. That the idea that I can genuinely help you because I desire to do that inevitably leads to this awareness of who you are, what you stand for, what your brand is, and particularly this idea of personal branding, and all of these elements which wind up synthesizing in terms of the message that you put out, even when you're not consciously striving to put out a message. So that sort of synthesis really becomes essential in bringing all the different areas of what you do, writing, visual, connection, all of those together in genuine relationship with other people.
Yeah. Thomas, what you're talking about, genuinely listening and connecting with another is something that I got to practice in my work in holistic nursing. A tenet of holistic nursing was acknowledging within yourself, the source of your caring, the source of your goodness, and then as you would walk through a patient's door to provide service to another, that you would remember behind all the drama going on in their life, with their illness, with their circumstance for being in the hospital, you'd remember, that person has the same source of life and giving and caring underneath all the drama. And if you could just kind of remember that walking through the door, it's like all of your expanded capabilities and sensitivities would suddenly kind of open up, and more intuitively you could be responding to them, empathizing with them, and some would even call this like being in a holy relationship with them. It's not special, but it's one where you're really feeling the point of connection and understanding that the service and the learning really is always going on both ways. I really love that you mentioned our way of doing business now is often different. It's really about offering ourselves freely with information and building relationships, and then offering the opportunities where people know if they want to take a further step for deeper consultation, on a fee basis or some other kind of exchange basis, then that can unfold. And that's beautiful. I'm going to skip on over now and say hello to some of the people who have joined the Holy Shift Show audience today. I often call these the flock, the Holy Shift flock, and we have a whole bunch of people here. We have William Rock here. Hello, William. We have Afrex Multimedia. Never heard of them before. Glad you're here with us. We have Marcus Dieterle. I believe he's joining us from Germany. Carmen Mandic is here. Hello, Carmen. Michael Thomas is with us. Missy J is saying hello. Dave Pipe. Dave Pipe, I'm so glad you're here, like live with us. No apologies, like making it later. Beautiful. Let's see. Deborah Rock is here. Missy J is here. Danielle Miller is here, and she's been adding lots of comments. Let's see. Scrolling on up, a few more. Cameron Young is here. And
Cameron!
Hey, Cameron!
Cameron!
What's up, Cameron, the stick guy?
Hey! Okay, Andrea, say hello. Is that somebody you know? You and Thomas know?
I don't know if Thomas knows him, but he's a snake guy. He's all over G+. He's doing amazing things to educate people about snakes, and this girl doesn't like snakes or reptiles of any kind. And so I'm his biggest project. If he can convert me, he can convert the world.
Okay, so I'm going to skip back on now to comments. Let's see. Daniel Miller is saying, branding happens from the inside out, and core values are a must in communicating your brand. She's also saying, howdy, Michael Thomas. Fine-tune your frequency so your voice and vibe are clear and resonant. That's it. Let's see if we have any questions here now. Let's see. Empathy, 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 empathy. Okay. Where am I? Let's talk about all the different places on the internet and in social media where our visuals are showing up. We got websites. We got blogs. Katrina, tell me a few more.
Well, especially with social media, something like Twitter, where normally images weren't a big deal up until last year, that can really get your brand more notice if you're adding those photos as well with your tweets. Obviously, Google Plus, a lot of the other social media areas, I think, those visuals are increasingly important. And I'm curious to see how this is going to translate into the world of print too, because I know that with more eco-conscious folks, where's that balance between keeping things electronic versus print too, in terms of the branding pieces. So I would love to know if anybody has some thoughts on that. But those are other pieces that you can do to have that continuity in all of your branding.
Yeah.
In terms of visuals and words.
And Andrea, you have put out a whole variety of blogs giving branding tips, and again, I have just been bowled over by the content which you have been so generously offering. And one was about video. So talk a little bit about branding in video.
Well, video is one of the best type of visuals to really convey so much more, because it has elements of visual, but it also has the voice. So again, it goes to matching the visual look, the graphical look, with fonts and with logos and colors and all that, but it also goes to matching your voice, to carrying the same voice that you have in your videos to your text. And Wade Harmon talks a lot about it, but it's like the things that you can convey about your personality, about the authenticity, about your voice through your mannerisms and your eye contact and your idiosyncrasies allows someone to get to know you so well. So it all really, again, boils down to consistency. When you're making videos, keep everything consistent with the brand. Again, go back to the things that you, in your creation, inspiration, and discovery phases, and it should all segue off of that. So the voice that you have in your text is exactly how you should talk. And a lot of people struggle with this because they try to be a persona they're not, or they try and speak in a way they're not. It's a lot easier when you speak the way you speak. That's why I say badass, big ass high five. That's how I talk. For me to say, thank you so much, it is so kind of you to, that's not how my language works. So it's easier to carry things off and create consistency and create a recognizable brand for yourself when you just honor all the things in those 3 phases. Those 3 phases define every single thing, including everything that goes into a video. Video is so important because it can convey so much more than any other visual medium.
Indeed. I want to skip on over to Katrina. Katrina, can you tell me a little bit about the process that you took of discovery for yourself for your current branding? For example, I know that you're utilizing like a red flame. That's one of the little standout colors in your logo that we see at your website, and I guess you're using it some other places as well. Mm-hmm. So there are a couple words you use, and that red flame comes to mind. So that's what I think of when I think of Katrina. Mm-hmm. How did that emerge for you?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Intuitively, I got the creative Katrina idea before I got the imagery, but it's because my last name is very hard to spell. And in terms of branding myself, I was really struggling because people would remember me as the girl with the weird sounding name or the funny name and not actually about anything I was doing. And so if I wanted to create a brand that actually incorporated me, but also the passion that I have for creativity, I kind of blended those two together. I was working with someone locally she helped me put the actual logo together, but I had the vision for it, and she had a light bulb in there at first. And to me, a light bulb was an idea, but you know, creativity is a flame, it's a passion, and that's really why when I was speaking with her, I was like, we have to change this to a flame somehow. And I liked that it was the blend between orange and red. It's like a reddish orange because second chakra is creativity. And so there was a little bit of thinking in the background in terms of the colors that I chose and the image that I chose too.
I want to skip on over to Thomas. Thomas, apparently you are a photographer?
I do photography, yes, and that was an evolution for me, actually. That was an unanticipated evolution that became something much larger. When I began blogging, I actually was blogging about more spiritual topics. That's my background. My master's degree is actually in theology, and so I would write about that and published a book about that. And at one point in my blogging development, I transitioned, instead of trying to find images that I could use, I transitioned to shooting my own. And when I started doing that, I started getting emails from people asking me where I was finding those photos at and where they could find similar photos at. People that were emailing me asking me for advice on how to develop their own blog, even from niches outside of the ones I was writing in, which ultimately led to I wanted to create a space where I could provide advice to people instead of just responding the same thing to emails over and over again, where I could actually provide advice for people on how to establish traction on the web and provide some resources for them that they could use as well, visual resources and others. I also do like planning templates and stuff like that. And that led to Blog Photo TV, which is where I shoot images and produce. Every week I have an email that goes out with a selection of free images, but I also have a premium membership of the site which has hundreds of images that people can go through and use for their own blogs and stuff, and that was sort of that evolution. But it all began, to bring back to some of the things we were talking about, it all began with simply attempting to meet a need that I saw people asking me for in a productive way, and it grew into something much bigger than I expected when I first launched it in June of last year.
And it sounds like, but you were just paying attention to your own flow of passion and interest, and it wasn't simply stuff all coming from the inside, but it was also responsive to things and people on the outside who were then asking, so what about these, or where did they come from? And then discovering I have resources that others may want to use for for their own blog. So that's beautiful. That's
and I think, Elaine, that's really integral to creativity, is that you realize that creativity is not an isolated skill set. It's not something that is entirely internal. It is internal, but there is this interaction that takes place when we connect with other people that fuels that feeds that, where not only do we become aware of our unique skills and where that can meet with other people, but also it creates this feedback loop where my ideas fuel their ideas and their ideas fuel my ideas, and it expands as a result of that. But I very, very firmly believe that people that are searching to try to figure out what are they meant to do, what are their gifts, what are their skill sets, that they start getting connected with people and start paying attention to what people are noticing in them as well. Because one of the things you find out is that when you have particular skills, you start hearing about those, and they may be things that you have never given attention to, but people start noticing things. Hey, you're really good at this, or I'm kind of amazed at just how well you connected with X, Y, or Z, or you really helped me with this or that. And all of a sudden, those create frameworks for how we begin to discover our rather unique place and the skill sets and gifts that we have to offer.
Yeah. Thomas, what you have been talking about is this, this dance, this we dance. And so much of business seems to be emerging in a different way that's more collaborative. And, maybe the word awesome has been overused, but I still love it, because when we think about how do I, the me, how do I dance with the we to create awesome experiences that, it's not just for my good, it's for blessing everybody, it's for blessing a larger whole. I want to skip back over to a question, which is here, by Missy J. And then I'll ask each one of you on the panel to respond. She says, does being a brand mean you have to get very personal with your target audience in terms of visuals? So I'm going to jump on over to Ray.
I think that I'm not sure exactly where she's going with the question, to be totally honest. When she means very personal, what I think you have to do, more than appealing to your target audience, you have to be you, and your target audience is going to find you. And I know that's counterintuitive to what a lot of people say, but it's the God's honest truth. I mean, I didn't create the visual side of my brand because I thought yellow, black, and white was going to be what people wanted to see. It goes back to my thing of always feeling like I'm pinging and ponging between the black and the white, searching for that perfect shade of gray. It's infusing my personality of yellow and the contrast with the black and gray look of mine. So, but it's attracted the right people. It's attracted the people that are going to resonate with my voice. So as far as personals in your visual, it's again got to be an extension of what your personal brand is about, and you'll see that in the people that are really succeeding. I mean, Thomas's are, again, it goes to his photography. He highlights that. Rebecca Radice has such a striking brand with hers. Peg Fitzpatrick has, really stuck to a pink, but she infuses that into what she does in the slightest ways, and it you can see my cat opening the closet door. Sorry, you can. But it oozes her, and that's she has a lot of male followers, so that would be counterintuitive to go with pink, but guess what, it's Peg. So it really has to start with you, and that's going to attract who it resonates with and who is going to be your target audience in the way of the visual side of things.
Yeah, thank you. I want to pin another comment and also say shout out to Carrie Ann Foster.
Yeah.
She says late, but here. Wait a minute.
Yeah, where'd it go? I don't read it.
Wait a minute. Here we go. Late but here. So great to see Thomas E. Hanna, Blog Photo TV, and Andrea Beltrami on the show sharing their visual branding tips.
That's a girl.
Indeed. And then I want to skip on up to acknowledge Marcus Dieterle, who's one of our regular flockers. Thank you, Marcus, for being here. Says, great point, Thomas E. Hanna. We often don't notice ourselves what we're good at, while other people recognize that easily. So it's good to be listening to others.
Isn't that true, Marcus? We tend to really, the things that we're good at, particularly the things that we're passionate about, we tend to downplay that significantly, don't we? Like, and I don't know really why it is. I think that maybe there's an aspect of ourselves that that feels vulnerable with the things that we're passionate about. But even if we like really want to be good at something, and we may even think we are, we tend to downplay those areas more than anything else. I don't know why that is, but that's a great insight, Marcus.
And I'm going to skip on over to Katrina. So Missy J, she was just asking, once again, you know, if you're creating your brand, how much of what you're putting out there as your brand is with your audience in mind, and how much of that is just your own essence of you? And is there a thought about that, or is there kind of going into the intuitive, imaginal, as Penny Pierce would call it, space to really get the clarity on that kind of thing?
Yeah, it definitely starts within, but it's a blend. I mean, it's almost like if you were going to sit down on the computer, now that Google's so prevalent, like what keywords would you put in there to find you and what you do? So I think sometimes it can just start with, what are those power words for you? How would you actually describe yourself? And then I think from that, visuals emerge. Like I was saying before, I have the flame, but the flame is actually a match. It's igniting that match so that you can create what, you know, is true to your heart. And I think sometimes, and because I'm a writer, starting with the keywords sometimes is a little bit easier for people because the visuals come out of that, if that's how your mind works. Sometimes it's the other way around for other folks. It's just sort of tuning it in for you.
So once again, I am looking at the clock and I'm saying, holy flock, it's already 2:37 Eastern Time. It goes so quickly. And in the remaining minutes, I want all of my guests to, you know, each take about 2 minutes to just share. If you were to give, you know, an actionable tip to help people really feel into their own process of branding, what would that be? And actually then at the end of your little summary tidbit or final thought, tell us how we can get in touch with you. I'm going to start with Dre.
I think my lasting message is always consistency. What's going to dilute your brand and your the power behind your message is being all over the place, and that goes for your visuals and your voice and everything that you do. You got to be consistent. Consistency is what creates the pattern that folks need to become recognizable. And so the more that you spread that, the thinner you spread that, the less effective your branding is going to be. So stay consistent, figure things out, start at a discovery phase, and go from there. But bottom line is stay consistent. And if you're looking for more visual and branding insights and strategies, and you really want to create that instantly recognizable part of your brand, which is the most important part, hop over to thebrandedsoulpreneur.com/subscribe /join. I changed it. Sorry, /join, and get on the list, because that's really the best place. Like, that's where I really do. I give a lot on Google+, but I give a lot more to my badasses in my community. So jump on the list and join the cool kids.
And once again, for any of you watching on YouTube or Google+, if you look in the event description, you will see the Google+ profiles of each of our guests. You can always go there and typically link to their, to their websites, blogs, etc., to get there easily if you somehow haven't missed it here. I'm going to jump on over to Katrina. Some final helpful thoughts, and then how folks can get in touch with you or things coming up.
Sure. My final thought is about really understanding yourself. The more you can tune into how you work creatively, the more effective you'll be at sort of understanding when you're getting either intuitive hits or you're getting pulled towards something that actually resonates with you. I think a lot of people maybe dismiss some of the feelings or some of the intuitive hits that they get because they're too much in their mind about it. So it's really that self-discovery process that kicks off everything else. So take that time, whatever that is for you, getting out in nature, walking, whatever. You have to find that and be consistent with that as well. If you're looking for more tips about how to break through some creative blocks that you may be having either mentally or emotionally, or just kind of, want some to kickstart your own creativity, you can check out creativekatrina.com. I blog twice a week on both Mondays and Thursdays and give people good tips on how to sort of reset their mind frame and move forward in a more creative way.
Okay. The other thing I'd like to mention is also on Thursdays, with some degree of regularity, both Katrina and I can be seen on Marilyn Shannon's Skywire Hangout, which is, the theme of that program is listening. And again, it's all about tuning into these deeper senses and sensibilities that come from our core. I'm now going to jump on over to Thomas. Oh, the time went so quickly.
Yeah, it flies by. I'm going to respond to this question. I did want to take just a moment, though, and brag on Missy J for a moment, because she put that question up. I was hoping I'd get an opportunity to respond to it. But if you haven't been seeing her around, that girl is a sponge. I see her every time I turn around. She's showing up and asking great questions in Hangouts, and she's taking the things that she's learning, and you can watch her evolution on social media as the way that she's been implementing all of that. So that, if you want to just get an idea of how you learn, implement, and just radically grow in your abilities on social media, that is the girl to watch, because she's been doing that. So I wanted to take a moment and brag about her. But back to the question at hand, a solid tip before we go. View everything that you do as a brand and everything else. View everything that you do as a doorway to establish relationships and connections. That's important, because the number one asset that you have are the relationships that you've built with your readers, with your community, and the engagement that you're able to cultivate with them. Visuals that are on your site, the visual graphics, that's when you shake their hand. That is the first impression that you give them. The value that you provide and the content that you provide cements that relationship, and the further follow-up on social media, through email, whatever, develops that relationship. But it's only when you establish that relationship that really things begin to happen. And that's a shift from the way we often think about blogging, but it's a very, very important one. And if you want some more good tidbits on actionable, practical ways that you can increase your online presence, you can find me over at blogphoto.tv. The blog section is blog.blogphoto.tv. And to those who decide to join the Insiders list, you can get on it right there. You guys get a ton of free photos, free templates, resources, planning resources, all sorts of goodies delivered to your email every week. So I'd love to connect with you. Make sure, if you want to connect, just send me a message, and I'd love to get acquainted.
That's beautiful. I also want to promo our friend Thomas's debut of his own Hangout series, which is starting, is it next Wednesday?
A week from today. It's next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Our first guest is Wade Harmon, and we're going to talk about relationships and empathy. He takes a significant chunk of his effort in building genuine relationships with people, so we're going to sit down and chat about that. Looking forward to it.
Yep. It's all about caring. It's all about caring. I want to, before I give my final thought and then put up the links so folks can come into the post-broadcast green room that we call the Flocker Room. I also want to shout out to Cheryl Deuce. Hey, Cheryl, glad you made it here live rather than just in replay. She says, great informative show. Love Katrina Fencook and Thomas E. Hanna. And love getting to know Andrea Beltrami.
Hello, Cheryl.
Indeed, I have too. Let's see. Okay. I guess what I want to say now is, you know, I call this show the Holy Shift Show because I like thinking about wholeness. Wholeness means things that are connected, things that are healed, things that are unified. And in these ever fast-paced times, you know, we're in this holy shift together. And when we dare to feel into our fulfillment on the inside, touch it, and then with our own vision, look out upon the world and see that goodness and that holiness in others, no matter what form it's taking, make those connections, establish those relationships, and feel into how we can be expressing our service to each other. Andrea, I want to especially thank you because, once again, when you saw my little Hangout banner and said, "Oh, look at that!" using
Tertiary
colors. It is like 3 primary colors. It got me so excited, really, about color because I love color, and that whole banner of my own came about. And I was just playing. It's okay, I'm doing this show. What's it going to look like? And I started playing. So I also want to say to folks, let your exploration of your branding, bring your play into it, bring your inner child into it. Make it fun if you can. That might be very, very helpful. I am having another Holy Shift show next week. The topic is still evolving, so stay tuned for our announcements about that. And Andrea's got her lovely glasses on. I love it. I'm sure we're going to be doing some more play in the Flocker Room. So what I'm going to do now is shut down my comment stream, and I am going to grab the URL for coming into the Hangout room and put that down below. And so I will say, sayonara, everybody. Please pay attention to your vibes on the inside so you can bring them forth in effective visual ways. Find and play with your visual vibe. Over and out, folks. Till next time.